Before this video begins, I would just like to thank my Asbantium level patron, Fallon Cortez. Thank you for supporting the channel. Doctor Who is known for its incredible scenes and memorable moments. Who can forget speeches like the 12th Doctor in the Zygon inversion, or the 7th Doctor reflecting upon the dangers of time travelling and the ripples of causality in remembrance of the Daleks. There are so many wonderful scenes in this long-running show, but what about all the scenes that didn't make it in? With any movie or show, there are obviously a lot of deleted scenes. Whether they're cut for time, clarity, or complete rewrites and edits, you'd be surprised at how many scenes never made it into final episodes. And with some of them, you'd be surprised at just how important they are. Some of these scenes change episodes significantly, fleshing out character dynamics or even upheaving entire plot elements. So, just because I felt like it, here are some deleted scenes that change Doctor Who. I think the best place to start is with one of the most famous deleted scenes. At the end of the series 4 finale, Journey's End, the Doctor takes everyone home, including returning Rose and Jackie to their parallel world home, giving Rose her own personal human Doctor to live and love. But originally, writer Russell T Davies intended to give them their own TARDIS too. As we see in the deleted scene, the Doctor gives the couple a piece of coral similar to the TARDIS interior, claiming that they can grow their own TARDIS to go on their own adventures in the parallel world.
The Doctor, in the TARDIS with Rose Tyler, just as it should be.
Interestingly, Davies actually considers this scene as real and that it may as well have happened, but I think it's actually a change for the worse. I already don't really like Rose getting her own walking, talking Doctor body pillow, but it's even worse giving them a TARDIS too, because it renders the bittersweet parallel world setting even more pointless. The whole idea is the Doctor and Rose being pushed into this normal life to navigate together, with the emphasis being on them having each other as part of their romance. By giving them their own TARDIS, it has the same effect as the 14th Doctor getting to keep his TARDIS. There's no consequence or change there, the status quo remains intact, as Davies gets to eat his cake and have it too. I'm personally glad the scene got cut because it really does feel counterintuitive for the Meta Crisis and Rose to get to do everything they do in the normal universe as well, and thankfully expanded media stuff like Empire of the Wolf don't seem to acknowledge this grow your own TARDIS approach. And that's without even getting into all the technical nerdy stuff about how TARDISes work. Speaking of Russell T Davies' impulses, his second era is filled to the brim with important deleted scenes, with their omissions actively damaging their episodes. First of all, there's a weird cut in Space Babies where the Doctor was meant to play Push the Button by Sugar Babes on the jukebox. Sounds like an innocent enough change, right? Well, the whole climax of the episode revolves around this push the button phrase as a callback to a moment that now no longer exists. It doesn't change everything, but it really does affect the pacing and flow of the narrative because this beat just doesn't work without the song playing earlier. And there are others in season 1 that offend even worse. The Devil's Court deleted a quick scene explaining the explosion of music at the end.
Because music is gonna flow back in, time is gonna go crazy for 10 minutes.
Justifying the big "there's always a twist at the end" musical number, which now just feels weird and out of place without the throwaway line setting it all up. And Empire of Death has two scenes absolutely necessary for its plot that both got cut. The first showing the memory TARDIS disappearing, closing that plot hole, and another scene explaining how the Doctor's whole whistle solution even works, because he gave it to himself. Annoyingly, Davies cut this because nobody would ask where the whistle came from, despite, being the key to the whole climax of the finale. It shows how vital deleted scenes can be. It's not always just shaving off a couple of lines for time. Sometimes these scenes are crucial for the episode and cutting them throws everything off balance or introduces significant plot holes. In these instances, it's not the scenes that change a lot, but instead their omission. And these examples aren't only present under Russell T Davies' stewardship. One of the most important missing scenes in all of Doctor Who is PS, the unfilmed minisode epilogue of The Angels Take Manhattan. I know it's not technically a deleted scene because it was never actually made, but it's absolutely vital for wrapping up the wider Pond storyline. As it stands, we never get any indication of Brian's reaction to losing Amy and Rory. There's no payoff to his concern in The Power of Three, but the short, official storyboarded restoration of the scene closes that door in a satisfying way. Seeing him get the news from Amy and Rory's adopted son, very reminiscent of Sally learning about Kathy's death in Blink, but with more of a personal and bittersweet touch to it. The scene never getting made is a huge missed opportunity, but it wasn't due to bad show running or management, it was simply because Mark Williams was unavailable. It's still a shame though, because a scene like that is necessary for closure and it's the perfect concept for a minisode extra, and again, its omission is what changes everything here. And it's often character beats like these that get lost when scenes are deleted. One of the biggest losses is the original opening of Daleks in Manhattan. The mini storyline of the first half of Series 3 is the Doctor taking Martha on a short trip, one to the past, one to the future. But then suddenly they have another trip to the past without it being acknowledged. But in the deleted scene at the start of the episode, we have an opening of them in the TARDIS, where we really get to see the 10th Doctor burying his loneliness by pretending he wants to travel alone, only for Martha to convince him to take a detour.
The long way home.
It's a really sweet character moment, showing their relationship deepening and showing how much the Doctor doesn't want to travel alone. A moment like this is absolutely crucial for the duo, and it absolutely should have been in the episode because it gives us a much needed early moment of closeness, whilst also quite literally explaining how and why the Doctor and Martha end up going there to begin with. It's very similar to the following series with the Unicorn and the Wasp, which famously had a completely different opening and ending. Originally, there was a framing device where an older Agatha Christie starts remembering the adventure, before the Doctor and Donna visit her at the end, causing her to fully remember, and they show her the year 5 billion copy of Death in the Clouds. I love this framing device. It's a beautiful testament to legacy and authorship, something Vincent and the Doctor would do to great effect in Series 5, giving the celebrity of the historical a glimpse of their legacy as a heartwarming moment. Just like the episodes touched upon with Charles Dickens in The Unquiet Dead and Shakespeare in the Shakespeare Code. The episode still works just as well without this framing device, but I feel like it just gives everything that little oomph to the story and a more satisfying conclusion. And it reframes the entire episode, treating it as this extended flashback or memory of sorts. It just changes how you perceive it as a whole. Another example of this comes in Knock Knock, which has an entire alternate ending scrapped. In the climax of the episode, we see the Dryad creatures destroy the house as the protagonists barely escape. They lose all their stuff and now have to try to find a place to live again. It's not a very satisfying ending. There is actually a deleted scene revealing that the house, which is still standing, is now a nicer, warmer place because the Dryads aren't evil, and the Doctor even speculates that they might actually be present all throughout the world, widespread rather than being alien. Oh, and he modifies the deed to own the house himself. It's much better for clarifying Bill's living situation, and combines with Thin Ice for a little running joke about him falsifying deeds. So it changes the optics of Series 10. At worst, it's a nice, short, happy ending to a mediocre episode, but at best, it serves as a gateway to the second half of the series, both thematically, character-wise, and on a structural level. Sometimes these short scenes can just tie so much together to fix potential issues before they can arise. Take the Family of Blood scene where Latimer finds Hutchinson hiding in the woods and tells him about the watch, speculating that the watch chose him because Hutchinson can't actually hear anything from it, before Latimer then tells him about the vision that ultimately comes into play later on. It's an important scene for them moving past their issues and understanding their place in events, Hutchinson now trusting Latimer, which ultimately saves his life during the war. By cutting it out, we just feel that bit more disconnected from the crucial event and the characters. It really changes that whole subplot and makes it work even better by having the deleted scene in there, rather than there being no real explanation to how or why the watch ends up saving them. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be a scene that frames an episode or explains events. Sometimes even tiny moments can clarify so much and need to be in the episode to complete it. Rise of the Cybermen and Age of Steel both have this. The former has a deleted scene where Mr. Crane gloats in Jake's face after being caught on camera because he knows Jake and the Preachers can't do anything to stop them. It's such a short moment that does so much for the dystopian setting. It introduces a brutally realistic sense of oppression and futility versatility. Jake and the Preachers aren't just trying to fight against Cybus, they're forced to take on the whole world because Lumic and Cybus control the police, they control the news, and any kind of organisation that can actually do anything about them. Within just a few lines, we have such a better understanding of this parallel world and how Lumic can get away with this plan because no one can stop them. Just like our own real world, an increasingly timeless message, and also an explanation as to why Jake doesn't get caught even though he's standing out in the open. And an even smaller throwaway moment in Age of Steel reveals that Ricky and Jake were actually in a relationship, which is an interesting way to further show the differences in the parallel world characters and also deepen those characters and how they interact. I understand why it was cut because it does seem to just be a line that comes out of nowhere and almost treated like comic relief because of Mickey's reaction, but if it was still in the episode, it really would change things because it's just that extra wrinkle and character detail making them more interesting and emphasizing how these aren't the same people in their world. One of the absolute most important deleted scenes comes from Robot of Sherwood. In the original cut of the episode, the sheriff would have been beheaded, revealing that he himself is also a robot created as part of the disguise, just like the Doctor's theory of Robin being such an android. Unfortunately, this was cut late on due to terror-related events at the time, so that entire element of the episode just completely almost disappears from the story. There is still like one line that implies he's a cyborg, but it doesn't really work as effectively as the original idea, and thus the episode takes a hit as a result. But conversely, sometimes cutting a scene can save an episode. Waters of Mars is one of the most popular, beloved, and scary Doctor Who episodes in the entire catalogue, but one deleted scene could have completely ruined that. In the original scene of the Doctor and the crew examining the infected Maggie, she actually speaks, the Flood explaining its plan to them. This would have really torpedoed the mystery and the unsettling nature of the monsters and their silent terror. As Davis explains in the deleted scene extras, he cut it because the Flood is scarier as a mystery, and Yuri extrapolates its motivations anyway, so I feel like it would have changed the entire episode for the worst if the Flood could just exposit and talk like any other monster. Although, I feel like it probably would do that nowadays. For better or for worse, dialogue is usually what loses out when scenes are cut. Sometimes it works well, like getting rid of that Flood dialogue, but sometimes incredible moments or speeches get lost in the edit. In Knock Knock, there's a phenomenal scene between the landlord and the Doctor. We get a deeper understanding of the landlord's more sympathetic side, wanting to protect Eliza and how he lost his humanity, the deaths over time becoming a necessity to him. It's great, and it also gives us a glimpse of the Doctor's more vengeful and destructive side, as the landlord questions what the Doctor would do to protect Bill. It's very reminiscent of what we see in Face the Raven, the 12th Doctor giving into anger at the loss of the friend he wants to protect. He tells the landlord how he'd destroy entire solar systems to save the people he loves, but if he ever reached that point, he'd hope someone would stop him. It's not just an indication of his inner darkness, but a reflection of what happened in Series 9 itself, as Clara was forced to stop the Doctor fracturing time itself to defy all odds and his moral code to save her. Even if he's forgotten that experience, we haven't. So this scene has so many incredible layers, it's a huge shame it got cut. Similarly, in The Forest of the Night, there's a deleted scene of the Doctor recalling seeing a vision on Gallifrey of trees sprouting up like this, making him wonder if it might be connected to his home somehow, even hoping that if they were to see the sky, Gallifrey might be there. He's almost desperate to find Gallifrey in that sense, even though Clara reminds him it's gone. Again, it works fantastically on a character level, giving us those layers for 12, but it also changes everything about Series 8. A reminder of the Doctor's dream to find Gallifrey, a plot thread that was seemingly dropped after Time of the Doctor. But by having it brought up in The Forest of the Night, it's a way of seeding Missy's tease of finding Gallifrey in the finale. This scene alone would have done so much to garner some goodwill towards Forest of the Night, even if it wouldn't fix any of the real problems with it. So deleting it is such a misstep that worsens the episode and weakens the overall Series 8 storyline. Lastly, two sorely missed deleted scenes in Series 4 and Series 9 both show how important the consequences of character deaths should be. First of all, at the end of The Doctor's Daughter, a deleted scene sees Donna comforting the Doctor over the death of Jenny. helping him process his grief by telling him to live and remember Jenny rather than burying his grief. It's extra powerful when viewed through the lens of Donna's own father having recently passed, since the real death of Howard Atfield forced the series to be rewritten slightly to replace Jeff Noble with Wilf. And there are a couple of lines of dialogue in Series 4 that reveal Jeff died in Universe 2, so Donna herself would have been freshly grieving and able to further relate to the Doctor's own pain about Jenny. So it's a powerful moment that really should have been included, and weakens the emotional core of the episode otherwise. It's not just sadness for the sake of it. It emphasises the emotional lasting consequences of Jenny's death on the Doctor. Similarly, in The Girl Who Died, there's a very long deleted scene of the Doctor talking to Clara and Ashilda about the Maya and how to defeat them. Not only does it establish the Maya having visited earlier, but more importantly, how the scene treats the legacy of Danny Pink. Clara and the Doctor agree that he'd laugh at the Doctor's attempts to create a little ragtag army of defenders. But Clara also thinks that it would make Danny proud. It's a short moment, but it achieves so much for the characters, showing the effect he had on both the Doctor and Clara, and emphasising how Clara hasn't forgot about him, like it does sometimes seem in Series 9. I've always loved the subtext of Series 9 Clara becoming more and more reckless because she doesn't have Danny there to tether her and ground her in reality anymore. Without him there, she slips into her most self-destructive impulses and ultimately pays the price. By acknowledging his death in this episode, it only strengthens that theme and that storyline by reminding us of what she's lost and how it still affects her. Keeping this scene would do so much for the episode, and Clara's story as a whole. It changes everything about that journey in Series 9, so deleting it is, frankly, quite rude. I love deleted scenes, not only because it's like peeking into an alternate world where all these episodes were slightly different, but also because of how much they add to the episodes if they're restored. Whether that's something small and simple like Lance mentioning his personal experience seeing the Cybermen and Daleks battling, something that made his life then seem small, making him want to see the stars with Arachnos, or a whole cut ending like the original ending of
The Reality War,
seeing the return of Susan Foreman. Deleted scenes can really change everything we think we know about Doctor Who episodes, and that's not even getting into some of the classic Who ones. It's unfortunate that there's a real lack of deleted scenes for the 9th, 11th and 13th Doctors, especially since It Takes You Away had an entire monster cut without any footage being released, which is kind of infuriating honestly. But with that being said, some of them are just so important and absolutely should have stayed. But what do you think are the most important deleted scenes? What would you restore and why? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. And I'd just like to thank my Asbantium level patron, Fallon Cortez, my Diamond level patron, Valtar, and all my Gold level patrons, Chris Douglas, Daniel Shillito, and James Aleula Waterhouse. Thank you for supporting the channel.